let's go ahead and get into our last story of the day. For my ground news aggregator, it says CCHR warns troubled teen camps must be banned as death spur closures. And we're going to get into this a little bit. So, like I said, this was brought to me by a friend who asked me to kind of go into this topic. We've got not very many articles reporting on this, and it is from a month ago. If you see highlighted right here, that was when it was last updated. This is I'm gonna go ahead and read first the article that Andy gave me about a movie coming out about this subject. So we'll read about this. We'll read the other article and see kind of what's still going on, and then I'll kind of do a little bit of commentary on it at the end. So, a new documentary film profiles survivors of the so-called troubled teen industry, which flourished in the 1980s and 90s and in the early 2000s as well. But over 100,000 kids nationwide were sent by their parents to a group of wilderness camps and self-proclaimed reform schools, which offered a regime of intense physical conditioning, harsh military-style discipline, and a group therapy sessions focused on shaming attendees for their past behaviors. Filmmaker Michaela Scheuer grew up in Phoenix. She remembers classmates at Central High School being sent to these programs, and in particular, she remembers one of them, Aaron Bacon, who died while attending a wilderness therapy retreat in Utah. Bacon's story stuck with Scheuer, and 20 years later, her documentary, The Kids Are Not All Right, profiles 3 families whose lives were upended by the experience with similar programs. One of the film's subjects is Cynthia Harvey, a Phoenix mom whose daughter Erica died while attending a wilderness camp called the Catherine Freer School. The film is showing at the Phoenix Film Festival Summer Series on August 4th, which has already passed. But again, this is an article that's kind of bringing some attention to this. So Harvard and Scheuer joined the show to talk more about it. And then this is their conversation, which is a back and forth. You can read the article. It will be posted on this. But I do the title of the movie is The Kids Are Not All Right. Might be worth looking into. And then, like I said, I had the aggregator pulled up, and it had a story about warning that these camps must be closed. So I kind of want to read in relation to that what's going on with this current article. So Los Angeles, California, July 7th, 2025. Despite dozens of closures of abusive troubled teen programs and behavioral and psychiatric centers, including wilderness camps in recent years, a leading mental health industry watchdog warns that children's lives remain at risk unless stronger laws ban the worst offenders and the secretive youth transport practices that feed them. The Citizens Commission on Human Rights International, a nonprofit mental health industry watchdog, says that while the public outrage and media exposure have forced some notorious facilities to close, the underlying problems that enable these abusive programs still persist, and more children will die if lawmakers do not act. 2 teen suicides occurred last month in North Carolina behavioral facility forcing its closure. These so-called therapy camps have a disturbing history of traumatizing vulnerable young people while charging desperate families tens of thousands of dollars, said Jan Eastgate, international president of CCHR. When a child dies in these programs, that should be the last death. We need permanent bans, not just temporary closures. Wilderness therapy camps, residential treatment centers, and other troubled teen programs often market themselves as life-saving alternatives for youth struggling with behavioral or emotional challenges. But critics say that behind the glossy brochures is an industry built on secret, harsh discipline and abusive staff. Many of the methods used in these camps would violate the Geneva Convention if they were applied to prisoners of war, wrote journalist Maya Slavovitz in Help at Any Cost, How the Troubled Teen Industry Cons Parents and Hurts Kids. Her book, along with the years of survivor accounts and investigations, has shown how children are subjected to extreme isolation, physical restraints, humiliation, and medical neglect. Other recent closures have been prompted by tragic deaths, including a 12-year-old boy who died within 24 hours of admission to a wilderness program in North Carolina after being restrained. Numerous youth facilities and wilderness camps across the U.S. have faced criminal charges, lawsuits, and license revocations following deaths, suicides, or widespread abuses. Many charged fees ranging from $30,000 to more than $100,000 per child per year. State audits have exposed repeated failures. A 2022 Salt Lake Tribune investigation in Utah, long known as a hub for these programs, found thousands of inspection reports detailing rampant abuse, sedation, and neglect even after oversight law was passed in 2021. Utah Senator Mike McKell, who spearheaded the law, admitted the state has been learning the hard way that this was inadequate, citing at least 7 preventable deaths since 2021. He led the amendment to the law. This year, creating children's ombudsman and new whistleblower protections. In Maryland, legislatures led by Delegate Vaughn Stewart passed the Preventing Abduction and Youth Transport Act this year to curb some of the worst practices, including the forcible removal of children from their homes at night by secure youth transport companies. Now, I do want to say I know somebody personally who this happened to, and they told me about this, and it's one of the most terrifying things that I've ever heard in my entire life. This is a secondhand story, but what I was told basically is these people come at like 3 o'clock in the morning. You're asleep in your bed. You're at home with your family. You're a teenager, 13 to 16 years old. No idea what's going on. You get woken up in the middle of the night by 2 guys, big dudes dressed as cops. You are in your mind thinking that they're cops. Pull you out of your house like you're a criminal, throw you in the back of a car, drive you hours into the woods, put a backpack on you and make you hike into the woods, not explaining what's going on to you at all. Like, this is the most terrifying thing that I've ever heard. The law prohibits dangerous restraints used by these companies. This often unregulated youth transport industry has been described by journalists as authorized kidnapping, with children handcuffed or restrained as they are shuttled to remote facilities far from home. Survivors, including prominent activist Paris Hilton, attorneys, and CCHR, say this practice can leave children deeply traumatized before they even reach the program. Yes, but like I was explained to, that's the point. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to break these kids down, and it's terrible. CCHR points to a deeper issue fueling the troubled teen industry's survival: the widespread psycharacterizing of normal childhood and adolescent behavior. Too many of these kids are labeled with vague or unscientific mental health diagnosis simply for acting like teenagers, said Eastgate. This creates a pipeline to often harmful treatment and big profits. Psychiatrist Alan Francis, who chaired the task force that revised the 4th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual for Mental Disorders, famously admitted that the expansion of psychiatric labels has been excessive. ADHD diagnoses alone have tripled over the past 2 decades, but that also could be that we didn't understand it properly back then. But anyway, I digress. Human nature just doesn't change that quickly, Francis said. Our kids haven't suddenly become sicker. It's just a diagnosis that are applied to them more loosely. This diagnostic inflation has proven lucrative. In the U.S., the troubled teen segment alone is estimated to be worth $50 billion. Between 2017 and 2021, total medical spending for pediatric mental health conditions jumped by over 45%, with these conditions now making up nearly half of all pediatric medical spending, around $31 billion in direct child costs and $59 billion in related household expenses. CCHR says that while some private equity firms are quietly exiting the troubled teen market amid mounting lawsuits and bad press, the industry continues to operate largely in the shadows, propped up by misleading advertising, false diagnosis, and an unregulated transport network. Every state must investigate these programs thoroughly, shut down any that endanger children's lives, and permanently ban the worst practices, said Eastgate. The watchdog says the true reform must hold facilities accountable for abuse and deaths, end the use of psychiatric labels to funnel youth into profit-driven programs, and shut down the loopholes that allow dangerous operators to rebrand and reopen under new names. The recent closures show that the change is possible even when family survivors and the media and lawmakers work together, said Eastgate. But as long as one child can still be abused or die in these behavioral psychiatric camps, this fight isn't over. No child's life should ever be gambled away for profit. CCHR is a non-profit mental health watchdog established in 1969 by the Church of Scientology and the professor of psychiatry, Dr. Thomas Saz. It's helped enact more than 190 reforms worldwide to protect individuals from abusive or coercive psychiatric practices. that seems like there might be a little bit of conflict of interest there, but I'm not going to go into that. So, I mean, if they're helping, like, if they're helping blow the whistle on this topic, then that's a good thing in my opinion. And then lastly, what we have here is this was sent by a friend that shows all of the children since the 1950s who have died in the troubled teen industry. And as you can see, it's not a short list. Look at that, okay? I want you to compare. This is the 1980s, the entire 1980s, right? Then the 1990s. Okay. And then this is just 2000 to 2020, 2000 to 2004. Look at how long that list is. That's insane. And then 2005 to 2009, not as long. And then we go into the 2010s and then 2020s. But this should not still be taking place. This is unacceptable. Yeah. So I wanted to highlight the story. Like I said, my friend asked me to kind of bring some attention to it, and I thought it would be a good thing to talk about. Hey, thanks for checking out this video from Nightly News this morning. If you wouldn't mind, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video or when we go live on Tuesdays and Fridays.